Hey guys, it's time for the weekly update, and this is a short but very scary one. Again, Trump had a lot of stuff to say this week and had a huge impact on the drinks industry, and we will talk about that in a second. I'm almost off to Pro Wine for the next 3 to 4 days, and I will give you a recap at the latest in 1.5 weeks, summing up what is shaking up the drinks industry. So right now, let's see what happened this week in the weekly update. Let's go. Welcome to the Pinot and Pixel podcast episode number 244. And again, this week, the major topic was Donald Trump and all the stuff he published during the last 6 to 7 days. He is really shaking up the drinks industry, and I mean, there are some good and there are some bad things, and at least there is some good thing to tell. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal that Trump's tariffs are creating a new kind of patriotism in Canada. And I mean, we would talk about stuff like that. They started removing the liquors, the American liquors, from the shelves in Canada. They even created something that is called Canadiano to replace the traditional Americano coffee drink. And in addition, Canada is waving its flags again. So we see a lot of flags, Canadian flags, and even in marketing campaigns, you can see that there is an impact by what Trump is currently doing to Canada and other countries as well. The first reaction came from another big state, British Columbia. British Columbia announced after the LCBO and Manitoba that they will remove all American liquors from the shelves, including beer and wine. And this is even more than the others did, because at least wine and beer were not affected. But British Columbia cleared all shelves from American products that contain alcohol. And it's getting worse for America and the industry, and also for the people in Canada. So, well, the only thing you can do about that is, try to deal with sarcasm, be ironic, and sometimes have, crazy creative ideas when it comes to marketing campaigns. And one of them was announced by a brewery called Moore. They said, it's just enough to get through. We will sell 1,461 beers to people in Canada to help them survive the next 4 years. So the 1,461 beers are one for every single day that Trump will stay the president of the United States, unless he not will manage to change the law and he will be able to have a third time as a president. Hopefully not. So smart idea, basically. I mean, it's a lot of beer, and I don't even know how people should store that, but just, being in the position to put a marketing campaign like that online and make people talk about your company is a very smart thing, isn't it? In addition, there was an article in the drinks business that said there are some industries that actually could benefit from the US ban on Canadian shelves, and one of them might be the UK. Talking about the volume and the value of US spirits in Canada, we are talking about almost $1 billion worth of alcohol. And there are some companies like the UK who could be able to jump in and replace American spirits on the shelves. And we're talking about scotch, whiskey, and maybe even about wine and beer. So there might be actually a possibility for British importers, exporters, depending on what country they're sitting in, and of course also dealers and brands to jump on that train and use this as an opportunity for UK liquor, wine, and beer. Because this is not crazy enough. Trump made a very creepy post this week on his own social network, Truth Social, where he reacted on the European Union putting 50% tariffs on US liquors. He called them nasty and said, if this tariff is not removed immediately, the US will shortly place a 200% tariff on all wines, champagnes, and alcoholic products coming out of France and other EU represented countries. This will be great for the wine and champagne businesses in the US. I don't think this will be great at all for any participant of this trade war, neither for the Americans nor for the European Union. It's a trade war, but it's getting weirder and weirder every single day. People are getting more and more afraid. And I mean, we have seen what tariffs like that can have as an impact on, whole industries 4 to 5 years ago when he was president for the first time and champagne saw a decline. I mean, champagne has been declining over the last 2 years anyway, but this can have an even bigger impact on everything. Well, this won't be the last thing we will hear about Trump in the next, 4 to 5 weeks, I think. So we have to live with the craziness of this guy and his first lady, Elon Musk, and the drinks industry will definitely suffer. And I mean, this is bad in so many ways because generally the drinks industry is struggling anyway because people are drinking less, focusing on a healthier lifestyle. And of course, this can be an opportunity for industries that are dealing with alcohol-free drinks. But I mean, as soon as Trump gets that there might be an opportunity for European brands or Canadian brands or Mexican brands to enter the American market, he will look for some other tariffs again. This is not good at all. And because this is not enough. There was another headline this week on the website of UC Davis. The Davis Vanguard actually, I don't know if this is the website of the UC Davis, but UC Davis is one of the biggest research institutes in the US when we talk about agriculture, when we talk about climate change and several other things. And the headline from a trade publication was US now has cancelled about 1 in 10 active federal commercial real estate leases because the Doge, ministry, institute is trying to cut off as much as they can. They want to save money, and sometimes they act quite quickly without thinking about the consequences again. And they have recently cancelled the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Institute for Water Resources, and the Hydrologic Engineering Center. And this will have a huge impact on the research, not only at UC Davis, but in general in the US, because this institute is responsible for so many studies researching for or against climate change, water shortage, and agriculture in general. So, I mean, we have seen other news that he will close down the National Institute of Health, but when you get to a point where you think it can get more crazy, he just puts something out and, it gets weird. It's just, wow, we are living in really crazy times. So right now we stop talking about Donald Trump because we will do next week again. Let's jump over to Spain. The government of Spain has approved a law on preventing underage drinking. And we are talking about 3 different sectors where they try to prevent the overconsumption of alcohol, especially with minors. The health minister advanced 3 specific areas of action: the prevention and consumption, its regulation, and the regulation of advertising. The consumption of alcohol is prohibited for minors as well as for all people in places where minors are in the majority, such as educational, sports, or leisure centers. In addition, the law prohibits the sale and display of alcoholic beverages in establishments that are primarily intended for minors, such as toy shops, where they also sell food and beverages. In addition, the minister indicated that self-service machines must have mechanisms to prevent minors from buying drinks and may not be installed on public roads or in areas where the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages is prohibited. And the biggest thing is talking about advertisement. The minister stressed that alcohol advertising aimed at minors is prohibited, as well as advertising that uses images, messages, or terms that minimize the health risks and associated with childhood or youth. Sponsorship of alcoholic beverages and companies is prohibited in public spaces aimed at minors and in training activities for professionals in health, education, sport, or children and youth services. It's all forbidden to place any type of commercial communication, including advertisement on public roads within a radius of 150 meters of educational, health, and social health centers, parks, and children's playgrounds. this measure will take effect 1 year after the publication of the law. So Spain is one of the first companies that is reacting on the World Health Organization's recommendations, not only with new drinking moderately recommendations, they are also changing their laws, especially for advertisement. And this is a huge step in the industry. This will definitely change drink culture. And I mean, Spain is known for having quite high alcohol consumption per capita, and maybe they just want to lower it down. And even though usually minors that drink, even though they are not allowed to drink, they're usually not part of the statistics, but when you start drinking very, very early, you become part of these statistics when you turn 18. So a big move in Spain, first country to regulate advertisement when it comes to alcohol. And this is only the first step, guys. We will see more things like that in the future. And we will talk about a brand that really manages to put out advertisement and sponsorships, but with the alcohol-free products, which puts them in place. But before, we will talk about something that happened in the European Union this week. A European Commission made antitrust visits at non-alcoholic drinks firms. So they haven't announced in what region they were acting or what companies they were checking, but at least Brussels said that the inspections came amid concerns the unnamed companies may have broken EU rules. The Commission is investigating possible restrictions on the trade of goods in the single market and market segmentations, and also to prohibit any cartel operations and stuff like that. So if you are a brand that is producing alcohol-free products, you might have some visitors in the next couple of days. And I mean, we want to have everything working correctly in this especially growing space and still quite new space. And the European Union is known to have very strict regulatory rules on that. We recently talked about the publishment of the law that it is now allowed to produce organic alcohol-free wine in that case. So there will be controls like that in the future way more often. And last but not least, talking about sponsorships and smart marketing, Anheuser-Busch, ABInBev, has lined up their second big partnership when it comes to a huge sports tournament after the Olympic Games in 2024 with the World Surf League and Corona Cero. So Corona Cero will be the global partner, the main partner of the World Surf League Championship from March 15 in Portugal. And yeah, I mean, if you have an alcohol-free brand and you want to get visibility and you want to get more reach and you want to sell more products, basically, then the partnership with sports competitions is a no-brainer. And when we have a look at some of the most successful brands in the alcohol-free space, we're talking about adding in Germany, for example, for beer, or even Athletic Brewing is quite following the blueprint of adding a bit in the US. You managed to associate your product with sports in the perfect way when everybody that is running a marathon or is going to a stadium expects your brand to be there to be drunk. That's crazy. That's amazing. So next big partnership for Corona Cero after the Olympic Games. It's actually quite tasty. I mean, you know, taste is subjective, but talking about a beer that you can have if it's chilled down, it's easy to drink, it's relaxing, and it gives you this refreshing feeling. This is advertisement, guys, but I really like that beer. And it's available almost everywhere, even in a village like the one I'm living in our local supermarket. This is it, guys. Short and briefly, the weekly update on March 15. Have a wonderful weekend. We see you next week and maybe already with the wrap up of Pro Wine. Ciao, ciao.